Hello, Sam again from Marketing Meanders with Sally and Sam. A very, very quick thought, promise, about leads. Now, working in B2B marketing in particular, leads are a very large part of my world and my everyday life with work. And I often look at lead generation as a system of clearly engaging with prospective clients who want to find out more about your services and your products, and then that whole process of saying, well, here we are, this is what we have available. Someone expresses interest, you then take that interest and you try to understand it a bit more. You try to match it with what you have available in your product and services bag, and then clearly you try and convert that lead through to actually becoming a converted lead who has actually purchased something and establishes a relationship with you. But I do think that there's this mantra, this sort of motto you need to adopt, which is around, well, a lead is only as valuable as the subsequent actions that they take. So as we all know, I mean, again, that's stating the obvious, but when we have campaigns which are based on lead generation, we can provide a lot of leads, and perhaps we provide them at a very good cost. The cost per lead you create is very, very low on whichever platform or whichever marketing channels you may be using. And that's great. So your first sort of barriers have been leapt across, and you have I spent 50 leads, say, for a campaign, and you think, well, great, we only spent maybe £5 a head for those leads, which on paper looks good in terms of if you're trying to get 50 leads for £250, then you've done it. But then actually, was it better to get 10 leads for £250? And you think, oh my goodness, it's ridiculous, it's costing us £25 a head. And at the time, when you're at the beginning of that campaign, of course, that will look expensive. But subsequently, it may be that of those 25 leads, 10 of them convert. And so you've had nearly 50% of them converting from your campaign of getting 25 leads. And of your 50, say only 5 of them convert. So you've got, just 10% of them converting. You've spent the same amount of money, but you've had a better result with the 25. So it's cost you more for the eventual leads that you get on board. That's how it appears, at least at first. But of course, naturally, it's not, because of your 50. You've got 5 leads for £250 instead of 10 leads. So rather 10 converted leads, I should say. So at the end of the day, you've done better, but it looked worse at the top of the funnel, and actually subsequently it became far more cost efficient and better return on investment. So that's an important thing, and I think it's just that idea really of you always need to try and understand the next step of a lead, and you both have to get good quality leads in, of course, at the top of the funnel, but then you just need to understand what are the subsequent actions that I'm expecting them to take, and how many of them do I need to take that next step. And then that also informs the barriers, the hurdles. If you imagine it like a race, your leads conversion funnel, it's a typical horse racing fence race, and you're trying to get as many of the population of your full audience who are at the starting line to the end. And of course, I hope there's no nasty falls or anyone getting hurt. Let's just assume the horses refuse to jump the fences. Your leads refuse to jump the fence. So they never get to that next phase. And if you've got 3 or 4 of those hurdles to jump, you might think, well, let's have really nice low hurdles, so as many as possible get through to the end. But at every stage, you're going to have a crowded racetrack of these leads. You're not going to be able to see as easily, or you're going to have to take more time and energy to find out which of those leads or horses is going to get to the end of the race and appear to have the stamina to jump the next 3 or 4 hurdles. So it's going to take you more time and energy as well to spot and find out who's going to get to the end. And ultimately, it may be that you end up with the same results with fewer people getting over the first hurdle because you made it high enough. You made it high enough to judge the quality, the best horses, the ones with the greatest strength and stamina, and the ones who are genuinely interested in actually converting will get to the end. Equally, you could look at it and say, well, actually, perhaps the hurdles aren't massively high, or they are high, but some of the people to begin with who didn't leap it straight away and keep going down the funnel as you would expect them to took longer. Perhaps they went around the fence. Perhaps they went by a different route. They've been suggested by somebody else, a marshal on the side, who says, hey, why don't you go around this way? It's easier. They might do that. They might be referred out another way. And then all of a sudden they turn up at the finishing line and you're converting them and you're thinking, well, where have they gone? I didn't even know they were, still in the race. Or they just take longer. If you can imagine, perhaps a horse scrambles up over a hurdle and heaves itself over the top. And so eventually that lead will get through and convert. And so its subsequent actions of that lead have resulted in that lead perhaps getting to the finishing line, but it didn't do it in the timeline that you anticipated. Of course, if everyone does it in a different timeline that you anticipate, it gives you a bit of a better insight into how long it takes you to convert your leads and how long your lead time should be. Or it may be that you're doing something else that's not quite right, and to get people to move more quickly, perhaps. But it's not all about speed, of course. You can, in terms of selling a product or a service, you may very well set up your marketing early on, and you want to get everybody convinced on board and buying within a month, but actually it takes 6 months, or 6 months and it takes 18 months. Clearly you need to have a business framework which supports that incubation of that new product or service and gives it enough leeway to prove itself. But crucially, at each one of those hurdles, you need to be really hot on knowing, or at least being able to predict to a reasonably confident degree, how many of those horses or leads are going to get to the finish line, or are seemingly going to get to the finish line. So that's where your analytics comes in. I feel an entire analogous or analogy-based marketing meander coming on around this. I hope it makes some sense. My horse racing analogy, I don't really know much about horse racing, but I hope you get the idea of what I'm trying to say about people converting and understanding subsequent actions of leads and what that means in terms of how you need to monitor and also set up your sales processes to enable people to come through and convert. Hope that made some sense. Anyway, let me know what you think. Talk to everyone again soon. Thanks very much. Bye for now.